Welcome to the InsideOut Podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Yolles Ludwig, and we're talking about how to inside out transformation. How do you unearth and unleash the soul of a brand? And today we are joined by a guest on the show who actually has been on the show before, but we thought it would be really nice to bring Molly McDonald back, the founder and CEO of Pink Fund, a nonprofit that helps women who are undergoing treatment, breast cancer treatment, be able to pay their bills. So, Molly, welcome to the show again.
Thank you. I'm back.
So this is a really big year, and Inside Out is all about like revealing who you are on the inside culturally, who your people are, what your brand really stands for. And for Pink Fund, it's a really interesting inside out story because it was really about the inside struggle of going through breast cancer that birthed Pink Fund. And kind of share that story with everyone.
So I was diagnosed on April 1st, 2005. So that was a no joke diagnosis. And I had, in 1997, was forced to leave my marriage. My husband and the father of my 5 children lost all of our money, and our home was auctioned off at a sheriff's sale, and all the cars were repossessed. And so I was rebuilding my life after being out of the workforce 12 years. I was middle-aged. My kids were 4 to 13. And back then, middle-aged was old. But I was about to get the first 6-figure job with benefits when I had the surprise breast cancer diagnosis, which derailed this opportunity. I was no longer really the right candidate for this. So that left me unemployed and unemployable while I underwent 6 months of treatment for early stage disease. And while the disease was unlikely to take my life, it took my livelihood. And I experienced what later began a lot of research on a term that came to fruition 8 years later called financial toxicity, which for people who have had cancer, they have various grades of side effects. So grade 4 would be like unrelenting diarrhea. Well, financial toxicity is considered a grade 4 side effect of cancer just because of what it does to you mentally, emotionally, and financially, and how it impacts your treatment adherence, your medically related bankruptcies, possibly survivorship outcomes. It can impact your credit report that can follow you for years to come. So,
And people don't realize that.
no.
They think it's just about going through treatment and becoming healthy, but the financial health picture plays such an important role.
Yeah. And, the medical costs are high, but it's those non-medical bills, the things that you've built, your home, your savings, whatever, those are the things that can go south very quickly when you don't have a job or any income to cover those bills.
So 20 years later, you have this amazing organization. What was the moment in those early days when you imagined this whole initiative?
So I'm in radiation every day for 6 weeks with a lot of other women. We're in a waiting room, and you start to open up and talk to each other. And the conversations that we had and the things that I heard were, we're going to have to sell the house. I'm not working right now. I don't have any income. I'm going to have to tell my son he can't go back to college in the fall. Our credit cards are maxed out. And then this was the kicker. We're going to lose everything over this. I'm going to stop treatment and go back to work. And I thought, wow, this is not, breast cancer treatment is on average about 9 months, unless you're metastatic, which is ongoing. But you're going to risk your life for your livelihood over this 9-month gap. So what could we do? So at that point,
so women would actually forego treatment.
Yeah.
So they could pay their bills. I just want to say that out loud. They would forego treatment. And University of Michigan did a study that said 40% of women will delay or forego treatment.
Because of the financial toxicity. Yeah. So I went home to my third time to charm husband. And for those who don't know, I call my husband Tom Terrific because you have to be terrific or insane to marry a twice divorced middle-aged woman with 5 children, night sweats, and a mildly demented mother. But Tom was up for it. He always said, well, I could see you needed help. So anyway, I went home to Tom and I said, Tom, I have this idea. I think we should start a nonprofit. Now, mind you, I've been like in the junior league. I didn't know anything about nonprofit governance or management. But I said, we should start a nonprofit and we're going to pay these women's bills these non-medical bills for housing, transportation, utilities, and insurance, and we'll pay them directly to their creditors for 90 days. And we're not going to solve the problem. We're going to provide a financial bridge. And he said later, like there was thought bubble up in his head, is like, oh, okay, I know you've lost your
You've
breath,
lost your mind.
but now you've lost your mind. And then I always say, but because he sleeps with me, and I was a lot cuter 20 years ago.
You're pretty cute
He
now.
went along with it. And so we bootstrapped the whole thing. I mean, the irony was at that time I was in line at a food bank because we had my house.
Here in Royal Oak.
Yeah,
The food bank was just around our office.
around the corner. And without my income, the other part is that we had this COBRA premium. So for an employed woman or man who's in treatment for cancer of any kind, and you're on an unpaid leave from work, you have a COBRA premium that's like 3 to 4 times what you're paying. And so at that time in 2005, that COBRA premium was $1,300 a month. So I had no income. My husband was working as an independent piano technician on the concert stage. We never knew when he was going to have a job. So we paid the COBRA premium, but then we couldn't make the house payment. So house goes into foreclosure. Ford Credit's calling me every 58 days asking me, do I plan to make a payment on my vehicle or should they plan to repo my car? And then, I'm getting the utility shutoffs notices. So I would have to say for me that financial toxicity was worse than the disease itself. And I think that's really propelled me to say, okay, what can I do? And I don't even know why I believed I could do it, but there's a lot of science about belief. When we look at, what was the show about soccer? Ted Lasso.
Oh, Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso with the belief sign, the yellow belief sign in the locker room.
Yeah.
There's just so much science about what you tell yourself and what you can do. So we bootstrapped the thing. I had been an executive at the Free Press, so the medical writer there, the health writer, Pat Anstett-Kiska, agreed to write a front page story about our efforts, which launched October 2nd, 2006. So it aligns with our 20th anniversary this year. And so that ran in 27 newspapers. So there were newspapers back then. And that's how we got started.
Amazing. So you and I met I think it was around 2010, actually, after I lost my husband to cancer at the time. So I could totally appreciate the financial toxicity and the impact to the family. And it's real. And, you came from a very lavish lifestyle prior to that.
Yeah.
Who would ever imagine in a million years you would have financial toxicity in your life and your family? But we became fast friends, and then go another 6, 7, 8 years. And I think after we created Ludwig Plus, you saw some of the work that we did for advocacy that we basically funded ourselves to promote women getting mammograms, because we do a lot of work in the healthcare marketing space. And we were a team of us sitting at the agency, just brainstorming ideas for our clients' October breast cancer awareness campaign. And I looked around the table to all the women and I said, have you had a mammogram? Have you had a mammogram? Have you had a mammogram? And every single one of them said, I know I need to get one, but I haven't made time. So I said, that's terrible. Like, here we are promoting it and we're not making the time ourselves. So we did a quick study and I said, I think that women in our industry, in marketing and PR, entertainment, actually, push their own self-care to the side, because we got to meet the deadline and we've got a client meeting and we've got a campaign to launch and,
kids at home.
A million things going on in your life. And I'm sure we're not any different, but it actually indexed higher with this particular group of women, career women. And so I decided, and I reached out to a PR partner in New York, and we launched our own campaign that we funded and took to Advertising Week to educate women in our industry that it only takes 15 minutes to get a mammogram. Make the time, and the campaign was squeeze it in.
So it's when I saw those 2 pink balloons between the skyscrapers in New York that I called you.
Yeah. And Molly called me and said, oh my God, I saw this campaign. I love it. And, we're on a growth trajectory at Pink Fund, and I am looking to grow corporate partnerships. I want to help support more women who are undergoing treatment. I want to, go on a bigger stage and become more of a player and break out from the pink of every other
Mhm.
organization out there. And not that those aren't unimportant. Research is really important, and Susan B. Komen and all of those organizations, but nobody's really shining a light on this other side of the fight, you know?
So when we got started, nobody was. Now it's becoming quite a hot topic because there's
Yeah.
been a lot of research around it.
Mhm.
And there are thousands of small breast cancer organizations in the US that are
Mhm.
working in their communities, helping people, psychosocial support, helping to fund research. Some of them are doing some of what we do, but not all of it. And all of that's important.
Mhm.
But we are known as sort of the number one charity nonprofit in the financial toxicity space. Um, and we have funded over $11 million in bill payments on behalf of about 5,000 families. So our families are funded between 3 and 6 months. And then we have a community person who redirects them to other organizations that
Yeah.
can help them cobble together additional resources.
Amazing. So we did this whole effort of, real help for the other part of the fight.
Right. Because everybody thinks the fight is the research, right?
Right.
And it is.
It is.
But a research project, by the time you bring a drug to market from the idea around it, it can be up to 20, 30 years.
Right. So we launched this campaign, and really it was to help you grow the corporate donor support, get our message out to the market, make sure we're advocating for this very important storyline and get attention so that these women can get the support. And certainly it has the ability to help others in the space as well in other areas of cancer treatment. But then we would do little promotional campaigns like the unawareness campaign or the Eyes Up Here campaign.
So I love the unawares because we turned the breast cancer ribbon upside down, which was basically anything that's turned upside down, like the American flag or anything, is a sign of distress.
Right.
So that was great. And
And I
I,
love that because it's like, brands don't realize like you have assets in your arsenal, right? Like you have the color pink, right? The
yeah,
category has pink, but we had to take pink to a new level. You've got the
it's just,
pink
you had to
ribbon.
disrupt that.
Right. And so we leverage these assets as a way to signal cues and bring attention to the brand and the organization and the initiative.
And the Eyes Up Here campaign, I thought that was so interesting because as women, unfortunately, people look at our breasts. It's almost like the first thing you look at, right? And I used to talk about the hundreds of thousands of women walking around with non elective boob jobs. They didn't want their breasts cut off, they didn't want reconstruction. And people would say to you, oh, you got a free boob job out of this. They don't want that. So the wonderful thing about the Eyes Up Here campaign is it focused on the story of the woman who had really suffered in various ways from breast
But it was a
cancer.
really bold move.
Yes.
And you personally were
I
at the
disrobed.
photo shoot and disrobed.
Mhm. I do want to tell a quick story about that. There was one woman, and she had had so many failed reconstructions, had decided to go flat,
Hmm.
and she was ashamed of her body. And she got in with the photographer and took her blouse off, and was, bad scarring from multiple surgeries. And you think they could sometimes make that really clean? Like I have a surgical incision on my hand here, and it looks really good. I mean, having
Hmm.
stitches out Monday,
Hmm.
but it's kind of messy. You've got folded skin. It doesn't look good. And tears are streaming down her face. And the photographer is a breast cancer survivor, and she too had elected to go flat, but this woman didn't know. And so the photographer takes her shirt off, and they're both naked from the waist up. And I wish we had filmed that. If we had known, that could have become a documentary. We
Right.
just did not realize the power of that Eyes Up Pure campaign for the 30 women we photographed
Right.
and how transformative it was for them.
Yeah, it's interesting because, we talk about Inside Out and how companies should reveal their culture, how they work, what their brand's about. In the non-for-profit space, Inside Out is a whole new level. It's revealing who these women are and what they've undergone and what's happening in their financial life and livelihood. I recall when we put the Eyes Up Here campaign, we wrapped the Detroit People Mover
I love
downtown,
that.
and the women who were featured in the Eyes Up Here campaign just stood there with tears. I mean, the emotion that they allowed us to reveal in the branding work that we were doing. And it was so powerful.
So, I think a lot when we think about advertising, it's about selling goods, most of it.
Mm-hmm.
But what you created was transforming lives. I mean, those 30 women were transformed by that campaign. They were liberated. And I think that agencies and businesses need to think bigger in ways that does help affect their bottom line in a positive way. But what are they doing to people's lives?
Right. Amazing.
Yeah.
So we're 4 years in on the work we've done together. We rebranded, we, refreshed your brand identity. We created the brand platform, Real Help for the other part of the fight. We have campaigns that will run in cycles around Eyes Up Here and the unawareness campaign. How's Pink Fun doing now?
So we're in an interesting time because I'm retiring and I think it's 26 months. So I've been doing this 20 years. And as an entrepreneur, whether it's for profit or nonprofit, it's really important. You think about what's the next step.
Mm-hmm.
And to go before people are like looking at their watch, like, how do we get rid of her? She's, not effective, maybe too old, maybe she's great for where he or she got the organization now, but we need new fresh blood. So we are building our board. So we just brought on 2 rock stars from pharma. One is the vice president of advocacy for all of Pfizer Oncology,
Wow.
who asked to sit on the board and wanted to help us scale. And the other is the former, I'm going to get her title wrong, but she was in charge of the breast program for Daiichi Sankyo. So we're looking at having those 2 people reach out they're the kind of people that can make a phone call and make something happen so that somebody will talk to me.
Right.
So that's number one. So goals are bringing our board national, diverse across the country. We have a small endowment of 1.2 million. I'd like to build that to 3 to 5 million before I exit. The lovely thing about an endowment is when you divest it at like 5% a year, like let's say we had a fabulous opportunity, but it wasn't in the nonprofit budget.
Right.
That endowment would serve as a way to say, hey, if we have a $5 million endowment, we can take out $250,000 a year. Right. That's a pretty nice chunk of change to do something. And then hiring a successor. So you gave me a pink unicorn.
Yes, I
Remember that?
did.
And Marianne Gandy from Pfizer, who's joining the board, said to me in our phone call that I was a unicorn. And so I remember taking the unicorn off the wall and saying, well, this is what our ad agency gave us. So I guess it must be true. So then the challenge is, how do you find that next unicorn? And so when I talk about opportunities for jobs, whether you're going to stay or go, every year we have the stay or go interview with our staff. Why are you staying? Why would you go? Remember that song? I think it was,
I love that.
Shall I Stay or Shall I Go?
Yeah.
Right?
I might have to start dancing now.
So if a valued employee leaves your employment and you don't know why, that's on you.
Yeah.
So we have the stay or go interview every year. Why are you staying and why would you go? Because sometimes if the reason they would go, you might be able to fix that, right? Nonprofit, we don't pay high salaries, but I always say that all your job decisions are the 3-legged stool. Compensation, which you always know what that is, and the benefits. Culture, they'll bullshit you about that all day long. You're not going to know the culture till you get in there.
Right.
And opportunity, another bullshit opportunity. I mean, there's just, oh yeah, you're going to like, maybe not, right?
Yeah.
So, but never stay or go for compensation unless you have a short-term financial need that you can address.
Right.
And you're willing to take that risk. So that would be a good reason. So my greatest concern in succession planning, and we've seen it happen all the time, where a founder of an organization or somebody like yourself leaves, the successor comes in, fires everybody, or creates such an environment that people leave, and the whole thing goes down, right? So we talked to these succession planning firms, and I said, so in the contract, it will be made clear that my successor cannot terminate a single employee for 12 to 18 months without egregious cause and board approval. And they said, well, you're going to narrow the pool of candidates. And I said, fine.
Right.
Because my people are so amazing. they're so committed because of the mission. Even our IT guy.
And you know that from
Yeah.
the state.
But they love each other. They all,
Yeah.
nobody's like elbowing anybody out of the way or getting pissed off. They're very collaborative. But even the guy who runs IT said he feels like he's helping people. Like he's looking at applications and working on, they call it PIMS, like it's our whatever online application. I hate acronyms, so I don't even know what that stands for. PIMS. I don't know. Anyway, sounds like a PIMS cup to me.
It does. Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
So that's critical. We have a magazine. So we acquired a magazine called Breast Cancer Wellness that's now also in its 20th year. And that's a national digital free publication. We're hoping to bring it back in print because all the hospitals want it.
Right.
So one of the goals is then to have a portal where treatment centers and hospitals can go in and order magazines in bulk for their patients to take home. Because even though we're moving into this fully digital world, there is something about holding something in your hand, especially when you're scared.
Yeah. Actually, tactile things are they're coming back
They're
in
coming
fashion.
back.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
direct mail. People like to receive something
Yeah.
in the mail because
Yeah.
they don't get.
And then you
don't get
lose
that
it. Like I read the Atlantic
Yeah.
and the New Yorker, it comes to me digitally. And then when I try to go back to find a story, sometimes the story that's online is not
It's not there anymore.
or not in the print edition.
Yeah.
You can't find it.
Yeah.
But so that has been an opportunity to engage other partners. And I had this idea when we got this magazine, I thought, we can get sponsorship and advertising for the magazine that will cover already budgeted hard costs of salaries.
Right.
Then that money goes to the financial bridge program. So for example,
What's amazing is a lot of your money goes to real help.
Oh, it does. But pharma partners cannot fund financial assistance because it's a conflict of interest, but they can fund education. So this gives us a way.
So it gives you an avenue.
They can fund the education, and it is covering the hard costs of the magazine, but portions of already budgeted salaries are in there. Yeah.
So what else, since we launched the campaign 4 years ago, what other impact has it had? I know you mentioned
people think we're a really big nonprofit.
They do?
Yes. Our image is bigger than who we are. So we have 12 people that work the whole thing. So 8 employees, 4 contractors.
Amazing.
And people think, well, what? You're doing all that? Like we thought you had 30, 40 people.
That's amazing. Yeah. And does it get you into doors that maybe you couldn't get into before or give you the respect you deserve when you get in there? Has it changed that dynamic?
I went to a Goldman Sachs forum 3 years ago in Maryland after you first, was it 3 years ago? It was 21, 22. Yeah, remember.
So it's about 4 years ago.
After the video that you did, the manifesto video. And I had so many people come up to me like, oh my God, that video is amazing. What did you pay for that? I said, well, I can't disclose that. But they're like, that's a game changer, that video.
There's more than one part of this fight. This disease is merciless. It simultaneously tries to take your body and the life you've built. It forces women to choose. How could anyone choose between their lives and their livelihood? Do I pay for the medicine or pay the mortgage? Can I miss a treatment? Or can I afford to miss work? Nobody should have to sit in a chemo chair, worried about how they're going to keep the lights on, or food on the table, or pay the lease on the car. Nobody should. And if we have anything to do with it, nobody will. There are plenty who raise funds for the research, and we thank them for it. But there's another part. Because this fight takes more than medicine. Pink Fund. Real help for the other part of the fight.
So it's still homepage on the website. And we do show it at every meeting right out of the gate. In fact, I spoke a year ago. I had the largest speaking platform at the largest global cancer conference in Chicago called ASCO, which is an acronym for American Society of Clinical Oncology. And I wanted to show the video. So I'm on a platform with these 3 other research brainiacs, Fumika Chino from the University of Texas, a guy from Switzerland, another guy from Vancouver. And they all got up and presented their slides and their research, which all had value to the audience, who are all other brainiacs.
Right.
But then I get up and I show the video and I tell my story. And a woman from Australia wrote on LinkedIn that Molly McDonald presented in such a way that nobody could leave the room untouched. And it was that video that really led into that discussion that you all did.
Well, it's great to hear. I know you shared with me the other day that you're helping, I don't know, maybe 4 times as many women as you were helping before. That's a wonderful result of all this effort.
About 130 a month.
Amazing.
So they're on the payroll, so to speak, for up to 3 months. If they're metastatic, which means right now there's a law that may be changed. So if you are metastatic, which means the cancer is spread outside the breast and in bones, organs, brain, you have to wait 6 months to get Social Security disability, which is ridiculous. So there's a bill going forward to eliminate that waiting period. But for those women who are in that waiting period, we're covered for that time period.
Right. So 20th anniversary,
Mhm.
October 2nd,
Mhm.
there's the Dancing with the Survivors
Yeah,
event
the
where you're actually going to
Yeah, I'm going to
dance.
perform in honor of my husband. So my husband, Tom, Tom Terrific, he was the detail guy. So I had the idea and he thought I was crazy, but I said he wanted his benefits. He was going to do what I wanted. So there would be no pink fun without Tom. He wrote the 1023 application to the government. He wrote the bylaws. He dealt with the law firm. He deals with every state where we have to register annually to receive our nonprofit status to be able to raise money in those states. And so I'm dancing that cheesy, I hate to say, shouldn't say it's cheesy, but that wind beneath my wings.
Oh,
You know,
okay. Yeah.
Did you ever know that you're my hero?
That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I took ballet for a long time and I can kind of move. I would
So
say I bust a move. I'm like a more elegant.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see this. So what do you think the next 20 years? You're looking for your successor.
I won't be here in 20. Well, actually, by the actuarial chart, I'm supposed to live to be 96.
I have a feeling you're going to pass 100. There's something
I don't
about
want to
you.
be that old.
Yeah. I don't know. You have a lot to do here.
I have a plan.
You have a plan.
Uh-huh.
I know you have a lot of plans. Like you're going to do stand-up comedy at like
I'm
a
writing
funeral home.
screenplays.
Yeah.
Teaching cherry over
Yeah.
the scenes.
No, the best was when we went to see Amanda Dalka do stand-up comedy. And Molly, you're sitting next to me the whole time with the other people who are doing stand-up saying out loud, very loudly, I'm funnier than that guy. I'm so much funnier than her. That is not funny. So I can't wait for you to do stand-up.
I am kind of funny.
Amanda was funny though.
Yes.
Amanda was the only funny one. In fact,
Yeah.
she won that night. But anyway, let's talk about the next evolution of the campaign. Where do you see that going?
Well, that's for you to tell me because you've been familiar with us now, and we need something again that's disruptive and different. The pink space is really saturated, with a lot of it is psychosocial support. Here's what I'm going to tell you what's a little crazy. So Onco Daily just listed the top 100 cancer influencers. So I'm not a TikToker and I'm not an Instagrammer. And
Although we could put you on TikTok,
Well,
and you'd have a following.
but somebody has to do it because I have no technical skills. So, but what I wanted to know above those 100 influencers, what are they really all doing? Or is it just numbers of followers? Because you can't, the data for influencing is followers and sales of products.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see, and I shouldn't disparage this, but when I see somebody, a cancer influencer, right, for partnerships,
Mm-hmm.
they're monetizing.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe that's how their job.
Yeah.
But with what we do, I'm not out there putting my makeup on, get ready with me, or crying, or showing what I'm wearing today, or talking about my children, my dead husband. That was the second one, his dead.
Yeah.
um, because I don't understand that. But a lot of them are doing good work. Like a lot of them will bring on physicians or researchers. They're disseminating really great information. Not really sure about what the data shows. So it's not a good idea for me to be the whole face of the brand, particularly when you are transitioning.
And I
right?
think now
the brand is the brand. The Pink Fine, not Molly.
Well, your story's important.
My story's important.
But you're building something bigger than the story.
Yeah,
And I think with the introduction of the magazine, it gives you permission to put more education in the market,
Yes.
advocacy around financial toxicity, bringing more attention to that. So more corporations are coming in the fold. And you've had a lot of success partnering with big corporations.
We had 14 years with Ford. They sent down the program this year. We're on year 11 with Snap-on. We're on year 4 with CVS Health.
Right.
We have,
and I think CVS came on right after we launched, which helped you get that contract.
So they came on and they do in-store radio advertising for us in 9,000 pharmacies.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That would have cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
So what's interesting about that partnership is that they're able to reach people that need our help that a social worker may not know about, or somebody in a rural community,
Right.
doesn't have access to that knowledge.
Well, and the other thing we're doing a lot of, and we're going to do for you, is make sure that everyone's going to AI now. They're going to Chat, they're going to Claude, they're going to Gemini, they're going to Perplexity, especially in healthcare. And each of those platforms has different algorithms in the way that they scrape data. And that's where people are going. They're going there to say, where should I eat dinner? Give me a travel itinerary. I did it. I'm going to New Zealand and Australia. Tell me where to stay, where to eat, and what activities to have. So the same thing's going to happen in your space.
So we have data that nobody else has. And so when your healthcare system asks you myriads of questions about your health and your family's health, they don't know your household income. They know your address.
Right.
They don't know your level of education. We have all that data, and we've been told by the University of Michigan, Emory University, and Northwestern Medicine that nobody has the data that you have. We can't monetize that data without killing our brand and losing trust of those people who,
Right.
we're not going to do it. In fact,
But you could use the data to educate others without revealing who they are.
I mean, we could take the data, and we do, like numbers, age of the people, and household income, and ethnicity, and level of education. Those are all de-identified. We can do that.
Right.
But a couple of years ago, I accidentally got an email. I don't think I was supposed to get it, that indicated that we would be paid $25,000 per patient file of data. And at that time, we had like 24,000 files.
Oh, gosh.
And so we can see that headline, Pink Fine sells patient data.
Yeah. No, you don't need to do that.
Yeah, we don't do that. But I think we are in another study with Northwestern Medicine right now out of Chicago on food insecurity. Because we have so many patient files and they want to engage and they want to tell their stories, we are of value to research institutions around financial toxicity challenges.
But cancer is not discriminating.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't really care about your household income, your age, your race, your ethnicity, your job. It doesn't care about anything.
Mm-mm.
And I think you have an opportunity as we take, the real help for the other part of the fight to its next evolution is to leverage all that knowledge that you've built these 20 years. Bring more awareness to this, especially as affordability is a big topic right now without cancer treatment, right? Everybody's pressured to be able to afford gas, light, electric, all these kinds of things. And then if something serious like cancer hits your family, you have to really understand that. So maybe there's a way to get ahead of it a little bit so that people who could be faced with this or have family or friends who are faced with it can also provide that help.
Generally, by the time a patient and their family really realizes they're in trouble, they're in trouble.
Right.
Like not past the point of no return, but nobody sits down and talks to them. The other thing is the shame factor of admitting, there's two things, admitting that I may need help, but then the fear factor is if I tell them that I'm afraid I can't afford this treatment, they're going to give me not the best treatment. And we've had patients tell us that. And we've had a patient tell us that the oncologist said, well, we'll just give you a lower dose of chemo so you can still work. Well, then does that mean the chemo is not going to be as effective?
Right.
So that shame and fear factor fall into, I'm not going to tell anybody that I'm afraid about the money part.
Mm-hmm. Molly, as you get ready for your next chapter
Yeah.
in 26 months,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun to watch what you do. You're fun to begin with. There's a lot of people in the world who have that burning sensation inside or that vision inside that they might be afraid to take it to the world, or the idea may seem so out there when they're like you, standing in the food stamp line to collect food to feed your 6 kids because you couldn't afford to feed them. And you envisioned Pink Fund and you made it happen. What are your tips for those individuals?
So I think that we all have challenges in life. And as we examine those challenges, I think that the question we can ask ourselves, am I supposed to do something about this? And of course, many people can't or don't or won't. But challenges present opportunity. And so for me, it was an opportunity. I'm a creative person. I don't know why I thought I could do this. I remember sitting with some lady at a coffee shop and her telling me, how crazy I was thinking I could do this. And I went home to Tom and I'm like crying, like, why would she say that? Like, because the reality was I'm in line with this bank. We just rescued our house from foreclosure. We can't pay our own bills. What made me think I could pay somebody else's bills, right? And the first 6 years of the Pink Fund, I was employed in other jobs. I was not paid by the organization. In fact, I got fired from one job because they didn't like it that I was using my weekends and lunch hours to go out and speak. So
Amazing.
not everybody is supposed to do something like I did, but everybody can do one thing. And maybe that one thing is making yourself available to talk to another cancer patient, sharing your story. We see here in our community, Jamie Edmonds, sportscaster, has been diagnosed, and she's using her podcast and she's using her story in such a way, I think, that's inspiring other people. She just rang the bell the other day to complete her treatment. Our dancing event, we have Jack Howard from Ally Financial. She's head of financial wellness. She's dancing and performing. She's African-American, diagnosed, I think she was diagnosed at 30, 31.
Right.
And she had this high-level career. So she talks about what that was like for her.
Yeah.
We have Stacy Russo, who's an executive with Enterprise, and Rachel Decker, who runs Detroit Philanthropy. Talked about, being a solopreneur and what her friends and family meant to her, helping her go through this. She's single, so she talked about how that was tough. So each of them, in that little way of sharing their stories, are helping somebody else. Right. So it doesn't have to be big.
Right.
It can be small.
I always say, I'll use a rocket-ism, which is the inches are everywhere. If you just move something an inch, whether it's your own idea or supporting something else, in 7 days, you'll move 7 inches.
Yeah. Everybody can do one thing.
One thing. And then do another one, and then do another one. And starting a business, being a founder, whether it's not for profit or for profit, it always starts with an idea. So just move it an inch further is so important.
I would like to say one thing, that I think comparison is the thief of joy. And I don't think that people should compare their efforts to other people and feel like they're less than, because that's harmful.
Yeah.
And I've had people say to me, oh, I could never do what you've done, or I'm not doing anything in the world. I had somebody say to me, I go to the hospital and I wheel somebody up to whatever, an appointment, surgery, whatever. And I said, well, you might be the only safe person they see that day because you're not family and you're not friends and you're not afraid of what's going to happen to them.
Right.
So you're chatting them up and smiling at them, and you may have made their day.
And made them feel normal.
Right. So I just think we all can do one thing.
Yeah. So for the viewers of this podcast, share a few ways for them to help the Pink Fund. What can they do, that one thing for Pink Fund?
Well, so one thing you can do that's really easy and free is go onto our website, pinkfund.org, watch the video that Ludwig Plus did, and then subscribe for free to the magazine and share that subscription with other people who may benefit from the content. So that content, just so you know, has information on sex, genetic testing, nutrition, recovery, exercise, and then we have about 4 or 5 what we call Thriver stories, and then of course financial toxicity, a lot of learning, how to speak with a patient navigator. We also talk about breast density, which is another topic. So the magazine, that's easy and free. You can also sign up to be a monthly donor at any level. And if you live somewhere and you want to be an ambassador for us, because we have about 30 ambassadors throughout the U.S. who get trained and they become our spokespeople. So they can accept a check, let's say at a charity event for us, this third-party event. And they get together and they have meetings. You don't have to be a breast cancer survivor to be an ambassador, but you can go on and sign up for those things. So magazine, all the video, magazine, ambassador, and then there's always a donate button.
So go to pinkfund.org and take a step to move the ball 1 inch further for the Pink Fund. Molly McDonald, love you. Thank you so much. You're such a very dear friend. You're always my date when I need you to be my date.
Yeah.
And you've taught me a lot. You're a great friend. You're a great advisor. You're an inspiration to so many individuals. And I really value our partnership. I'm so excited for your next chapter. I'm excited to do some more work with you on the Pink Fund campaign. Thanks for being on today.
Thanks for having me. And can I just say one thing?
Sure.
So when you took us on as a client for very little money, I remember I said to you, we're like a dating, but we're just having the appetizer. I wanted that to be a game changer for Ludwig Plus. And I think it has been.
It has been. I can't tell you. As an agency, it's really important for us to give back. We try to do initiatives that are important to our team, whether it's supporting organizations or causes like breast cancer or donating time to help pets and rescue pets and donate food. We have a pet food client, and the whole team went down to take the food that we had to buy for the shoot so that we could give it back to a shelter and help those pets. And we do multiple things like that. We do it, one, because we really care. And we care about what you do, and we want to be supportive. But in turn, you allowed us to promote it and share it with the world. And you go on stage with me at Advertising Week. We go to Entrepreneur of the Year and we talk to people. We even went to GE Healthcare together.
Yeah.
So great clients beget great work.
That's true.
And at the end of the day, this is a people business, and do unto others as you'd like them to do to you. So we help each other, and it's a wonderful partnership. And to me, that's really what this business is all about: is can I help you? And we all tides rise.
Yeah,
so
that's really true.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And that wraps this episode of the Inside Out Podcast.